What's up, guys? We got podcast 60 here, and we have a very special guest, my good friend, Jenessee Roy. How are you?
So good. I've had a perma smile on my face for the last 2 weeks. No joke.
Why is that?
I had a massive pop.
I didn't know you were...
Continue the sentence. It was, when you get one of those downloads that's just like a full body understanding immediately, and then it dissipates like a dream, but everything just becomes clear in a blink of an eye. You're looking like you haven't had one of those, but I feel like you've had multiple.
No, I have. I'm just trying to figure out how we incorporate that to our listeners as far as maybe someone who hasn't had a download and a pop.
Oh, download and a pop. Oh, you know me, I have to speak in colorful language.
Yeah.
Flat language is just people don't question it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always make up colorful language to try and explain what I'm going through, so people don't just pass over it, right? So a download would be, in chakra theory, a download is classically when something non-physical or something that you're not expecting comes into your field of awareness, almost like an influence, an aha moment, something that gives you chills or tingles. And this is what we say when you're open at the highest level, which is your crown chakra. You're open for something new to come in. So we call it a download. It's almost like a waterfall of an experience coming in to change your perspective.
Right. Okay.
And so it popped me.
And it popped you. So
me.
Speaking of chakras, let's talk a little bit about that, because we hear, chakras all the time. There's 7 chakras, but a lot of our listeners aren't experts or, know a whole lot about it. And you are a chakra expert.
The only thing I claim to be an expert in this world. Yes.
The only thing?
The only thing, truly.
And why is that?
So I say divine gave me 2 things in this world: a vision and a tool. And the tool was the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've created a physical tool for people to understand their chakra system. And so that's what I'm here to teach in this earthly timeline that I'm existing in. So it's the only thing that I can sit down and talk for, honestly, weeks if somebody let me about.
Well, we don't have weeks. We're going to try to keep this within about 45 minutes. But we got other topics to talk to. But let's briefly, and I know you said we can't really talk about it briefly, but what are chakras?
Okay, so classically chakras are considered these 7, or there's multiple viewpoints on this, but the classic depiction of the chakras, root to crown. So root being at the base, the very bottom, and then crown being at the head, right? And then there's these 7 vortice points within your vertical line of your body, right? Head to toes, that create different energy experiences. And so we say that the chakras vibrate at different resonance or resonant tones, right? So people who use am I already going too deep? People who use the frequency apps, right? 350 megahertz will attune to this chakra, and 750 will attune to this chakra. So basically what we're looking at is tapping into different information that is non-physical or more energy-based. And in what I teach, chakras basically move through all of your levels and layers. So that's 101. But what I say is it moves through all of your different dimensions that we exist in. Every chakra exists on a different plane or level that you're connected to. And so what I teach is how people use their mind, their thoughts, their feelings, and then what they choose to do every day is your basically 3D reality. Your mental plane, your emotional plane, and your physical plane create how you're existing in this reality. What you think, what you feel, and then how you choose to act is basically your entire world, right?
Right.
And so that's exactly what the chakra system teaches us, is what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how you're acting. And people so many times just are walking through life asleep and they're not witnessing what they're thinking constantly, what they're feeling, and then how they're choosing to act based off of all those things that are basically your consciousness or what's making you do why you do. So I break down all of the chakras and help people understand how the chakras are creating those thoughts, feelings, and actions so that you can unpattern yourself, get out of the cyclical existence, and start to become really conscious with all of these levels that are basically operating through you, creating your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Was that?
No, it makes sense. But can you explain how? So that's like one mind. So people think, oh, that my mind creates my thoughts, my emotions, and all that. How does it relate to the chakras, and why are there 7 different ones?
Yeah. So now this is where it gets really, really complicated and deep, right? Because if you were to stay with just, and this is why it's so hard for people to conceptualize or understand. It's like, you're telling me I have energy centers in my body that are creating, everything I think, feel, and do. Like, how's that possible? So when I started tapping into chakras, I was literally like 14 years old when I started just having information come to me about chakras. So I started seeing the 7 quote unquote classic chakras that like Eastern philosophy depicts, right? Where there's these like balls of light that sit going up from your base of your spine all the way to the crown of the head. And that's one way to look at the chakra system in like a linear channel. But what I was shown was that these chakras don't just sit in this vertical plane, that those same 7 chakras move out through your chest, in front and behind you, which is the mental plane, which is your past and your future. And then they move left to right, side to side, which is the emotional pendulum swing, which is positive emotions all the way to negative. And so this literally creates this like 3-dimensional reality that we exist in, which is vertical X, Y, and Z axis, right? And so the chakras, when you look at them, you can decode them by looking at just the physical attributes of your chakras. So your root chakra is all about your family. Your sacral chakra, right at the sexual organ area, is all about relationships. Your solar plexus chakra in your stomach is all about you, your identity, the human. The heart chakra in your chest is all about your community or the world. The throat chakra is all about your voice. Your third eye chakra is about your mind. And then your crown chakra is about your higher self or the spiritual aspect of you. So that's the linear physical attributes of your chakras. When we look at it on the mental plane, the emotional plane, you've got different attributes. And then what people don't understand is when you're operating in life with this emotion that's tied to your family, right, which is root chakra, and then you're having, willpower issues connected to that, which is connected to your solar plexus chakra, it creates this very tangible experience where you can either be blocked or you can be open to what's happening. And so I try and teach people how to understand the physical attributes of their chakras, the emotional attributes of their chakras, and then the mental attributes of their chakras, and what can be stuck in their programming or how they were raised or what they believe in that creates blocks or impedes the flow with how they're able to live their life. So I try and get people open at all of these connection points within this 3-dimensional grid that they exist within, so that everything's constantly flowing. So you're always open to having whatever that next new experience is, back to the pop in the beginning of this.
So when your chakras are open and clear, do you become more aware?
So to me, open and clear is the flow. Like in Zen Buddhism, they talk about when you don't have anything sticky, when nothing's stuck. And that's a word we use attached to chakras, stuck, blocked, or shadow. When nothing's stuck within the flow, then you're constantly living in clear trust and connection to everything that's happening around you. Zen Buddhism says everything's perfect. So if you're not engaged in this reality, which again, Zen Buddhism says the reality is an illusion, but in that illusion, if you're in the flow of it, absolutely everything's perfect. So when we get stuck, then that's when we're impeding this flow and there's something blocked within one of the chakras.
So then it's like we're fighting with life in our environment.
Yeah.
When something gets stuck, right?
And to me, it's like, it's just a pause, right? It's an area for ourselves to become an observer, to see what is really, what's really creating, why can't I be in flow? Why am I having either negative or, resistance against something? And that's showing you where there's something blocked that's fighting your authenticity, your innate sense of self, your perfection, right? So anytime we transition into those like stuck, blocked, the denser emotions or feelings, it's because we're really fighting ourselves. And so that's my whole goal in life, is to empower you so that you can just see the perfection of you. And that's what, to me, the chakras are all about.
So what are some practical techniques people can do to open up their chakras?
So it's so freaking easy, but it's like, it took me 19 years to like finally have a perma smile on my face, right? It's so easy. It's like, trust. If people just opened and trusted what they thought, acted through their emotions, and that was the flow, right? We think, and then we feel what we're thinking about, right? So you either feel good about what you're thinking about, or you're feeling not so good about what you're thinking about. And then you make a choice, right? If we constantly lived in that divine flow, thoughts, you think it, you feel it, you act on it. If you live in that flow and don't question it, you will create a reality. And it's not going to be a perfect reality, but that reality could trigger somebody outside of you. And then you recognize, ooh, maybe I need to clean up how I'm talking, or, but it keeps the flow going so that you can actually learn in real time. So many times people block that flow, and then you become like an onion with all these layers and layers and layers and layers that you have to try and peel away to try and understand like who you truly are and what the you is underneath.
But if someone's having like limiting belief thoughts or negative thoughts, and they're just stuck in that pattern, then how do they even make change, or where do they start?
Good question. Yeah. So I guess I was talking to somebody who would be maybe more already in their practice, right? So a good practice to start if you're really in the dense thoughts. But it's interesting because I get pulled into those all the time too. But it would be gosh, there's so many angles for this. So I guess if we have to give one tool, I think meditation is probably the quickest way to really observe or slow yourself down, because so many times people are so stuck in that they can't separate their thoughts, feelings, and actions and really become an observer or a witnesser of what's going on. And they're just so, in life, right? So I think meditation or nature is a really great way to really just push pause to be able to see what's happening. And then if you get into those places and you realize that there's something, something's negative, something's wrong, I'd say then, it's very hard to do this if it's you, almost like I would say at that point, if you're finding that you're trying to meditate or trying to get out of some of these limiting beliefs or negative patterns and you can't, then I'd say, find a friend or a mentor, somebody who can kind of like help you shift that energy, because when we're in a dense state, it's almost like it just perpetuates, right? And so finding those people, like Zero Doubt Club, right? Yeah. Anybody that can help you kind of shift that perspective, I think, and get out of your own cyclical.
Yeah, I definitely recommend meditation to all of our clients. Now, sometimes I hear from clients that I just can't sit and meditate for more than 5 minutes. What advice would you give to someone saying that?
I was the quintessential person. My path, I had to detox myself at 19 because I was so open spiritually, psychically, that the only thing my parents could do was medicate me, right? So I was put on heavy sedatives early to help with migraines and sleeping issues and all this stuff, right? Because I was super highly active. And so at 19, I had to like completely detox myself alone from Western medicine. And as I did that, the voice kind of came back into my head, the voices. It was saying, you need to meditate. And this is like to somebody who had, like, I had worlds spinning inside of my head, right? Multiple worlds. Mm-hmm. And so anybody who tells me that they can't try and sit down for 5 minutes, like, that's the key. You just need to sit down and start doing it. And it's going to be insane to just sit down and see everything that's coming through. And all you need to do is breathe. Sit down and just witness and recognize how much is actually in your head. And just by doing that consistently daily, set a 3-minute timer. It doesn't have to be, a lot, but you just do that. And then your body will teach you how to work with your own mental field. And so, that's the big excuse to me under the sun. It's like, no, if I could do it, you can do it. So you just have to sit down and teach yourself or give yourself the space to. And there's no right way to meditate. Right? You can meditate in a bathtub. You can meditate, driving is a great meditation where all your bodies are in alignment, right? So it's just being in that state and saying that you're going to be a witness to what's going through your mind.
Yeah, being a witness. And I think, do you think because we're running from our thoughts most of the time, that's why people are experiencing these like blockages or not being in the flow?
Okay, so do I think... Say it again in a different way. Running from
these thoughts that we're having, like we're not observing our thoughts, we're not sitting with them and witnessing these thoughts. We're kind of just either in our thoughts or we're trying to escape the thoughts.
Tell me your perspective. I'm feeling like you have a really interesting perspective on it.
Well, I just know from my own personal experience, it was always just running from the thoughts, doing other stuff, whether it was, too much drinking, partying, gambling, TV, eating. People are people doing that because they're escaping their thoughts or trying to like run away from what their negative frequency vibrations are?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's like, you use the word unconscious, right? Which is silly. Nobody's truly unconscious, but I do believe that there's a time when we're really just stuck in the illusion of what this life is. And it takes getting more numb, more unhappy, more frustrated with what's going on until that first light bulb goes off. And that's, to me, I always say primal consciousness, or when you start climbing the ladder of the chakras or enlightenment, however you want to say this, it takes that first question, like, what am I really here for? What is life about? What am I doing? Who am I? Right? It takes that first self-actualizing question to start the journey. For me, it was detoxing myself from medicine and then hearing a voice saying, like, what are you doing? Yeah. And then it was that voice that then triggered the only way to heal yourself is meditation. And then after meditation, I got so much clarity so quick, developed everything that set me off on a path. I think your story was somewhat similar.
Actually, it's very similar. So maybe that's what it is. It's we're not even giving ourselves a chance to hear that voice because we're putting so many toxins in our body. Because I couldn't hear that voice for a long time.
Yeah, and
doing too many bad things, right?
On like you're talking on like a physical plane, right? Toxins, or I would consider all that the numbing, right? Alcohol, marijuana, and please understand, I can see the beauty in all these things too. I've been shown the beauty of what all of these different substances can do for us if used in balance with where we are. But I think there are extremes where those things actually take you out of full, what is it in like Qigong, your Qigong. So like your full energy body, right? The full life force that's inside of you. And when you are in those, again, cyclical patterns of drinking, watching, just binge watching TV because you don't have the energy or whatever it is, things that aren't fulfilling to you on a deeper level, I think you just get into that pattern of numbing, and then you either stay in that pattern, it just becomes your existence, or at some point, you know, there's going to be a moment where something inside of you breaks, and it's going to be, is this the time that it breaks you? And you listen to that little voice that says, we got to change, you know, and that voice, you can say, the first time I did it, right, I had a headache so bad, and the voice came in and it was like, don't take the pills. And I was like, screw that, the pain's too hard, you know? So I popped a handful of pills and I said, tomorrow morning I'll change, right? And how many times have we all done this, right? And you don't change.
You don't change.
But thank God for me, after that one time, the next morning I did start my detox. So it takes that one time that you're finally willing to break. And I really do believe we all align at the perfect time, at the perfect place. We all have to hit our own rock bottom. And when we're ready on every level and layer, I think that's when we just open, and then you got to find a friend because it's a crazy journey.
It's a crazy journey. It's very hard to do on your own. The good thing is that little voice becomes the big voice once you start doing the work.
The voice.
The voice, right. The main voice. And when that happens, then you're in the flow, right?
Tell me what that is for you.
Well, the big voice is the voice of purpose, reason of being here, destiny, in flow.
Or how do you go from like the little voice to the big voice? What's that for you?
Well, it takes practice, and it takes consistency, and it takes time. Again, the first time that I heard the little voice, which is now the big voice, I mean, it was so little, I probably honestly wouldn't have heard it if a big truck didn't drive by me that said spirit on the side of it.
Oh, that's a beautiful point.
I probably would have missed it, because the little voice was there before. It was telling me to get out of the career that I was in because I wasn't feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
And then when I heard the voice and saw the truck, I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to, for the first time in my life, listen to it and see what happens. And that's where trust came in. Yeah. And the more I listened to it, the more trust that I gave to it, the more started happening. Yeah. And then when when stuff starts happening, you become a stronger believer. Yeah. And you trust more. And then it's just like this whole ball of momentum. Mm-hmm. And then you get more, and more things just start aligning. Yeah. And then you're like, holy shit, I've been unconscious this whole time, sleeping this whole time. And just not so much sleeping, but
sleeping's good.
Yeah. But thinking that you're that other voice, that was the bigger voice. Mm. And it's freeing.
I think you bring up a good point. You know, validation is the one thing, right? I work with so many people in this journey towards spirituality. And the only reason I work with so many people, right? I have a membership of 5,000 people. Only reason I have 5,000 people with me is because they're all seeking validation, because it's hard. It's hard to trust, you know, in these signs. And that's one of the things. You feel like you're fooling yourself, or, oh, I'm creating that, right? Oh, I wanted to see that sign, so I saw it. And it's like, if I could tell everybody one thing, it's like trust. It costs nothing. And the more you trust, the more you're going to get validated. The more the things you're going to need signs on are going to show up. And the more people are going to show up to give you the messages you need. And the more your community is going to come. The more you trust in this, the more it happens. And the more you can see clearly, and the little voice becomes the big voice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful process. So what practical advice would you give someone who just doesn't trust a whole lot right now?
Oh my gosh.
This is a tough one.
It's such a tough one. Okay. God, it's, well, again, you know, talk about, I was the most untrusting person. And I think that's why my journey was the way it was. Like, if anybody told me what to do back in the day, I would not have trusted it. I was the person that had to hit my head. This is why it's taken me 19 years to have like a 2-week perma smile on my face, like coming in here today. I took every wrong path. I did things 10 times before I trusted it, right? I never had a teacher show up My teachers were books, right? It was like if I was processing something, I wouldn't believe it until, again, Divine dropped it in my lap and I opened a book to the right page and it showed up right there, right? And so how do you teach trust? You don't, but it's a slow unfolding process. I just wish for everybody that, maybe those who have come before you make it a little bit easier for you. And if you can just hear our words, the quicker you just trust it, the easier it is. You don't have to live this for 19 years, hitting your head on all the walls, questioning everything. But I do think, so here will be a transition to plant medicine, right? My path, I've been teaching this stuff, like teaching with my shingle hung for like 12 years, right? Putting out content, writing books, all this stuff. And I've progressively been, I'm in constant communion with Divine. And like 3 years ago, the reality of where humanity is and how they digest information and how quickly they need validation changed to where I could do telesummits, I could do webinars, I could write books, I could do all this stuff back in the day, and people would find it and that's how they would learn. But like 3 years ago, things shifted completely to where Divine came in and was like, you can't, nobody's taking information, reading a book anymore to get like the information. People need it quick and they need it now. And that's where plant medicine came in like 3 years ago as this, they need the gunshot to the head that's going to explode their mind and show them, because people need that physical, tangible, well, I say physical and tangible. It's not physical, hardly tangible, but it's something that it's undeniable when you do plant medicine and are shown everything in the course of, 15 minutes to 6 hours. So that's how I was reoriented for what the human collective needs at this time. And so that I think would be another way.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can read all the spiritual self-help books and you might not get, you won't get as far as a gunshot to the head with plant medicine. It keeps
it mental, and that's the problem. It's everything I'm told with Divine right now and how I'm supposed to be guiding people is to bring it into the feeling body, to bring it into a physical manifestation. I keep being told we're building so many castles in the sky. To know everything is nothing. To know it all and not apply it is absolutely nothing. It is so inauthentic. It is out of alignment. It is out of balance. And this is what I see happening to our kids. We have kids in the same grade. They're so in this mental plane and inundated with, again, 5 minute bits of information. And then they're swirling just in this, electronic age, and which is beautiful, but it's also, if you don't ground and you don't bring things here, you're going to get lost in the field of the mind. And so I think that's where, again, knowledge is only power if you're actually living it. And that's where plant medicine makes you live. Yeah. It makes you live what you...
Yeah, I just bought Nathan a VR. So now it's another thing.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, the Oculus has an app. It's called Trip.
Oh, like the holding room? They get put in the holding room?
It's exactly like the holding room.
No.
But you know what? I played it and it was a little bit too slow for me. And too this is video game. Should I just call Jenessee and we do a sesh?
Goodness.
But
wow. It's our new, what did the Native Americans, the Vision Quest? It's the New Age Vision Quest for our kids.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess.
It. Yeah. And he played it and he's like, oh, this is so cool. I'm like, good.
Good.
Do this a little bit more instead of some of the other games.
Yeah. By the way, I want to bring back the Vision Quest for our young men as they hit 14. You down? Should we start creating this program?
Let's do it. So yeah, plant medicine. It's a shotgun to the head. So before I did any plant medicine, I had my emotional awakening actually in meditation. So meditation can do very similar
100%.
things as plant medicine. Like you don't have to go.
You don't have to at all.
But why are they so similar? What is the mechanism behind it?
Oh my gosh, you're asking. I'm all energy based. I'll speak to the first point. Let's see if I can tap into what the next point is. But same thing for me, right? I was psychic and through meditating, right? I did not need plant medicine. I actually have more out of body projection experiences meditating and through holotropic breath work than I do with plant medicine. Plant medicine actually forces me into my body. So that's the big difference for me, where I think meditation, again, it's a practice that that can do exactly the same thing and give you the information and the awareness that you get with plant medicine. But plant medicine is, to me, something that that it is so physical. It's all levels and layers at the same time, where with meditation, I see people get so disassociated. And so, I mean, I did it for years when I was seeking more and more psychic adventures. I had young boys and was meditating for like 90 minutes to 2 hours. And then all of a sudden I had a conversation with Divine. I was like, I can't do this. I'm meant to be here, present. So I want to live my meditation. I don't want to have to go seek this outside of myself. And that's where plant medicine, to me, it's like, again, you go in for 5 minutes, you get a year's worth of information, and then you're forced to live it in your physical reality. And so it's almost like bringing in a globe, or when you meditate, you could think of like a little bubble cloud above your head that you're kind of accessing. To me, plant medicine is like you're going into that bubble, and like that now bubble becomes your reality for the next year. And you have to like unpackage everything in life that you just tapped into. And so it really makes you do your work in a beautiful way.
Yeah, for sure, in a beautiful way. So yeah, there's different kinds. Let's talk about the different kinds of plant medicines and how they're different and which ones you like and so on.
I'm totally connecting you to a man named Ken. He's so much more eloquent, and you guys have a really similar story. We just did Sananga with him. It's called the windshield wiper. He's here in Cleveland in Lakewood. He does Kambo and Sananga here, which aren't psychotropics. They're both some of the most painful medicines.
Oh, great.
Yeah, real fun.
Exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, the Sananga is, they call it the windshield wipers to the soul. You put these drops in your eye that literally, it's like you're pouring acid into your eye. Yeah, not pleasant.
You're trying to scare our listeners.
I am. And I tell you though, he talked about it. And, going in, I do a lot of this. My business partner and I have something we like on Instagram, Raw Shaman. This is what we call this side of our business, right? Raw Shaman. And so we go and we find these amazing people who are working with amazing medicines and try and bring their stories out, right? So we put ourselves in the viewer's place of, hey, we're going to have this done, and we'll tell you about what our experience is. So I didn't have any expectation. I actually told my business partner the whole time, I'm like, I'm not going to get this. This is all you, sweetheart. Like,
I think I saw that clip where she was driving.
Yes, exactly. I'm like,
I'm like, Jenessee, you're not doing it. You're doing it. Come on.
Well, everybody knew but me, apparently. And it's amazing because I think I was the one that benefited the most from it. I usually seek nothing out of my experiences anymore. I just want the medicine to work with me and me to work with. I want to be a playground for the medicine, and just that's the level I engage with medicine now. So it's like, show me, who are you? What is this? Show me what you're all about. And pain. It was ultimate
pain. So
eye
drops,
and then all of a sudden you're like, you have your eyes closed, and then they drop it into the corners of your eye, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to blink. That's danger zone. When you start blinking, that stuff goes right into your eyeball, and then it's like good 7 minutes of just acid on your eyes, right? And it's not acid; it's some root, bark, plant, something, but. Again, ancestral medicine. And one of the things that he said that I actually had an experience with, in Hinduism, I think there's I forget what it's called now, but it's almost like the shadow that, again, it's all about this like mental fog, this like a lot of what we've been, our goals and how we judge ourselves, or how we're not quite getting it's like the fog, the fog that follows you. This is what Sananga is really good for. I, like a day after I did Sananga, it's like I had no care. It was like everything that kind of meant something to me, that I felt like I had like a little bit of a failure at, or I wasn't doing quite right. I was like, what? I'm perfect. I was like, the whole fog just lifted.
Wow.
And this was the start of, like, again, this perma
smile on your face.
Yeah. And it was like, wow, why have I been worried about that? Like, it actually erased time for me. You know, I think where we get in our own way is when we get stuck in this linear timeline of like, I should be doing this, or I should. It's all the shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And it just totally erased that. And I was like, whoa, everything's so perfect. How can I question any of this? And it just lifted that.
So it's like keeping you super duper present.
So present. And it was like so accepting and happy with what was, and not really needing anything outside of that. It was an appreciation. I like really got popped into this just like appreciation. It lifted whatever that little bit of fog was. And I was just able to really appreciate and not have an urgency to anything.
Wow.
That was my experience with it. They usually do Sananga before a Kambo experience. Kambo is the other toad medicine. It is not a psychotropic. It's a poison. And what you do is you burn dots. So people who have these dots are Kambo people. This is how you know this tribe of medicine warriors. So men, I mean, everybody's different how they administer, but men typically on their shoulder, women typically on their legs. But you can treat specific ailments with the body. Really good for emotional healing as well as physical healing. And you burn these spots on the body, and then you apply the poison toad medicine into these little dot spots. And then before you start this, you have to drink however many gallons of water. I don't know. And then it's like a 2-hour purge.
Another good one.
Another good one. And right here, brought to you in liquid. And really amazing. This one, we were terrified because of how many horror stories people told us about the Kambo medicine. And it was such a state of euphoria and bliss. And everybody I've taken through it has the same, really enjoys it, which is crazy to think.
After or during?
Okay, no, not during. I mean, during like my third or second application, I was like crawling on travertine floor to try and get to a bathroom and like dizzy. And yeah, like, am I going to make it off the floor and into the porcelain godhead? No, I'm not sure. So, it's interesting. But again, just something that is so amazingly, it just is so expansive. So expansive. So, there are medicines where it's no psychotropic effects, but, these types of medicines, rapé, another one where it's ash and tobacco. This is one of the most powerful ancestral medicines I use in my entire practice, more than any of the DMTs. It will transmute. I was told rapé is here for like COVID and the sickness, a lot of the broken electrical stuff that's going on with the sickness and our DNA and all this stuff that we're working through right now. And you basically with rapé, you do a Kerfee stick or you snort it. And it's supposed to go right into the pineal gland and decalcifies the pineal gland and really opens this whole electrical grid system within the body. Anybody who's familiar with like Chinese medicine, it's very like meridian centric to me. I can feel just like the whole electrical meridian system just come to life. And for me, it's always a goal to just work the medicine through head to toe, root to crown, crown to root, and ground into like a new state of just healthy electrical body, which to me, if we're healthy in the higher planes, our physical body is going to be completely healed. The physical body is the last end point for any kind of illness, sickness, disease, anything. So if we can heal ourselves, spiritual plane, mental plane, emotional plane, our physical body is always going to be healthy. So Rep A goes right to that. And will send me into crazy ceremony, like within its new psychotropic. So those are 3 that, I've
without
done.
the psychotropic effects.
And then the ones with the psychotropics, the ones that I've worked with, there's mushrooms, but the 3 main, the DMTs, ayahuasca, bufo, and tepezcuite. And to me, these are like, if you go to biblical, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. If you go to like the female version of that, the mother, the maiden, the crone, it's the triple goddess.
Which one's which?
So ayahuasca is the divine feminine. It's the mother, the earth energy. Super grounding, super physically healing. It's a 6 hour because it goes down into the stomach, so you digest it. Mm-hmm. So it's usually 6 to 8 hours, and waves of purging because your body's having to digest it. And it's physical, it's physically taxing, very physical journey. And then bufo, which is the toad medicine, is like the cosmic father. It's, to me, right out of body. It's sometimes a very hard experience to integrate because it's you smoke it. And so it's like 10 to 15 minutes, 20 if you're really deeply in it. And it's, you just go in, you leave your body and you tap into stuff that is so quick, so fast, so out of this world, so big that it's hard for the human to grasp a lot of the time. And that bufo medicine it's an unfolding process, where ayahuasca, it's like,
are you getting a lot of information on bufo?
All of them, but bufo's so it's almost like the ones and zeros.
Yeah, is it anything that you can even like bring back and decipher?
Yeah, okay, so good question, right? Because in September we went and did a journey in Mexico where we started in Hermosillo and actually worked with the bufo toads before we did our retreat in Tulum on the east side of Mexico, and with tepezcuite. And so my partner Jennifer and I did bufo and then cambo and then tepezcuite. Mm-hmm. And so it was a wild adventure, but I didn't even realize, I knew, but I didn't know because I hadn't lived it yet. So I had the wisdom, but not the experience. So with bufo, there's something called a death dose.
Great.
Let's just pause for that. A little respect for the bufo toad. And so we had done bufo before, but never a death dose. And we'd heard of this, right? Where a death dose is what they call the ego death. You go in and you smoke 3 to 4 grams in one sitting, which this is insane. It's insane. I mean, it's just crazy insane. And it's like instant blackout. It's like, and so I'm not typical, but I usually just go right to blackout space because I bring stuff into this physical paradigm. I'm considered like a channel, I guess you could say. So I just always surrender myself to go lose my consciousness, to go to like a blackout void space. But for most people, that's not. They're usually very interactive with visuals and out of body. And you could maybe explain more, but kaleidoscope or lots of different sensory things. You're seeing so much, right? So almost everybody who does death dose of bufo, blackout. So what that is to me, you are surrendering your consciousness to fully bring it. This is back to the download at the top of this conversation. Fully bring into this plane of existence, whatever. It totally changes your blueprint. And what a blueprint is to me, it's like your lesson plan here in life. So if you were living prior to your death dose of bufo, if you were living anything that was not in alignment to what your lesson plan here, what you wrote into like where you want to be, what you need to be doing, what the path is,
what your soul picked.
If it's not in alignment, it's going to be thrown out with the bathwater. It's like,
wow.
I came back from our September retreat and I did this like live video. I was like, well, people, I don't know if I'm coming or going. I'm like, what I realized was I was doing something for 10 years that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And so imagine that, right? Thinking and this is my business, my spiritual business. And I realized like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, and 10 years invested into something you think you're supposed to be doing. And I had to let it go. Like, and it had to evolve in a way that fit me now. And it was 2 months of spiraling. So that's where it's like, I came back and I was like, I don't know if I want to, encourage people to do Bufo if they don't have a good network, if they don't have a good support system, if they like, cause it's intense. And if you're not ready, that's where Bufo, toad medicine, a lot of times people have such deep experiences that's where you can lose your mind because they don't know how to integrate it. They don't have the network, the support system, whatever any of that is to be able to come back in a healthy way and integrate. And so again, I think if you're called to anything, it's the right time, the right place, trust it. But there's a deeper respect because it's intense.
So what's changed for you? You said that you weren't sure if you were doing the right things for the past 10 years.
Oh, I wasn't.
You weren't.
Well, I had to let it go, right? So, like the first 2 years of creating Root to Crown, the community and everything I have, I was doing it because I was living it. And then I became this martyr that thought I know so much. I healed myself. Now I have to heal everybody else. And so it was almost like I felt like because I knew all of this, I had to do it for other people, but I wasn't doing it anymore. It wasn't my journey. And it was this martyrism, right? And so the whole part of that adventure was like, set down your cross. You're not here to save anyone. You need to live in your joy and happiness. And when you're doing things that are serving you, it will then serve everybody outside of you. So I didn't completely like close shop, but I changed. It was like, I don't need to go on and perpetuate things that I don't even believe in, I believe in all of it, but that I'm not enjoying because nobody else is going to enjoy it. And so I had to like re-look at how I play with my content. So like doing a monthly video that I had to sit and edit for 3 hours that like wasn't even how I wanted to live that message, but I was doing it for other people to help them step into what their power was. It's like, no, I'm just going to go on live and do like whatever feels good for me in that 15 minutes. Right? So I had to totally just relook at how I was doing everything to make it so it served me first. And then through that, now I'm passionate about serving everybody I work with. And so it just reignited all of that. And it keeps me more in alignment to the collective.
That's amazing. That's amazing how these medicines they know what your blueprint is and they're going to basically not force you to do it, but
Bufo death will kick your ass. It will force you. It will.
Because if you don't, you're just going to be unaligned and probably not feel good. Suffering. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I get really, it's like, if you don't have a network and you're going to do a Bufo death, like find me because I will like hold your hand when you come back, it's going to be okay. I promise you in a month, it's going to all be shiny and new again. Just get through this. Like it's like it strips you into the darkest voids of how do you let go? You don't let go unless you get into that really dark place. It's the slowing down at that level that you can let go of the reality that you had created, but you can't do that unless you slow down that much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe Bufo's not for everybody.
But yeah, it's and that's, Bufo is really, it's hard to find until it's not. So Bufo is an interesting one, really. I searched for it for years, being called, and then once it came into my field, it's like I can't even get rid of it now.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This is the new Tepes?
Oh, I wouldn't say new, but very interesting. I was working with somebody and we were doing Tepes, and then all of a sudden it was like she asked for Bufo, and I would never have personally done that, but she was in it. She had done multiple rounds of Tepes, and then it was like she asked for Bufo, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be a gatekeeper here, so if this is what you want, and so it's coming through. But again,
and how's she doing?
I've checked in. Yeah.
You better be checking.
I know. I am. That's part of and that's something too that I've grown more accustomed to. Being there personally for people afterwards.
After plant ceremony.
Yeah. It's
because the integration. I mean, that's 95% of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And sometimes you have to be alone, right? Sometimes it's, if you're too coddled in that transition, you're not going to get what you need, and you'll just go back into the patterns. So it is a fine line. But I always say, if I'm thinking about somebody, I will reach out, because that's the mental, that telepathic cord that's saying there's something here that needs to be. So I don't focus on it, or it's not.
Just if it comes up.
Yeah, if they're on my mind, I'm for sure reaching out because I know there's something that needs to be communicated.
Yeah.
Good rule of life, with or without plant medicine. Anytime you think of somebody or they pop into your mind, that is what psychic telepathy is. Like, don't just suppress it. Like, text that person, call them, send them a message.
I've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, it's so important.
And even how sometimes you'll think of someone and then they'll text you within a minute.
Yeah.
Like literally, I was thinking about you yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And there you go. You text me.
Well, and the power of both doorways being open, right? So this is how people don't realize this is how easy it is. We are a mental plane humanity right now. So if you are thinking of me, and I'm psychic. So it's like, very quickly. It's like, there, Jeremy. So I'm reaching right back out, right? So for other people, it might take a little bit longer, but I mean, that's how you start getting these validations. It's just that easy, but you've got to act. You've got, again, back to the flow. When you think it and then you feel, act, and then you're going to get the validation of what path to pick, what's happening, what's on your path, who's on your path.
How powerful are we as humans?
Ultimate power. It's so beautiful. It truly is. And I say, I've been chasing my tail for 19 years just to realize that it's just all about being Jenessee, and it's all about being Jeremy. If it's so silly to say, if I would have trusted this 19 years ago, and I had this information 19 years ago, but then I go on this soul crushing adventure to understand every facet of Jenessee. And I get it. That's why we're human, right?
That was your path though, right?
Yeah. We want to understand ourselves at that DNA level. Why do I do everything I do? And it was the most beautiful journey. But sitting here with a perma smile on my face for 2 weeks, I can tell you, just be you. If you just think, feel, and act in alignment, you're going to know who you are authentically. You're going to see how that is, interfacing with the world. And then, you get to morph yourself how you want to morph yourself and experience this life how you want to experience it.
So true.
Ultimate power.
Ultimate power.
Yeah.
All right, let's end with my favorite plant medicine, which is Tepes guite.
So back to the threes. So Tepes came into me again. I didn't ever think I'd be working with plant medicine. I thought I was, more of the mental plane teacher. And then 3 years ago, it was like, nope, these people need a quick gunshot to the head. And Tepes was the one that came in to support really humanity. I think Tepes is the most aligned to humans right now, because it really, there's a lot of, is autonomy the right word, or discernment that you, the human, can have while you're inside of the journey, where ayahuasca, you're on her journey. Bufo, you're on his journey. To me, the love child of ayahuasca and Bufo is Tepes guite. And it's like the mother and the father coming to create the human. And so it's really, really a consciousness that works for our human paradigm, really has very, you would probably say, just it's very understandable in how to apply it. the ranges, right? It's very, it's just, to me, it was made for right now, for where humanity is right now.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. A lot of tepes you definitely can't explain through language, but you can understand it as you live your life later. Like there's lessons within it. You're not sure how to verbally put the lessons into place, but you know, oh, I'm seeing a lesson here, or I'm seeing a surrender here of something that didn't serve me.
Yeah.
And
broad strokes. It's kind of like you're getting the broad strokes inside the ceremony, and then it becomes more applicable during life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Tepes you smoke, it's like bufo, so it's smoked. So you smoke it. You usually do 3 rounds. So with most DMTs, it's like they say it's a handshake, a hug, and then a deep dive with God. So you typically do these smoked DMTs in 3 sessions simultaneously back to back. So it's like a 15-minute in the psychedelic world, and then you come out, and the integration in between sessions is like 20 to 30 minutes, where you're really just kind of still processing everything you just tapped into and saw and experienced. And then you smoke again, and then you do it again, and then you smoke again. And typically it's 3 rounds of deeper diving into that realm.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah. So what's your New Year's takeaway or message surrounding all of this for people? 2023, go.
2023, just be more you, and I think you hit on that as well. We're always trying to fit in with society, and society is about to shift dramatically, and it's us who are the ones who are going to make the changes through being our most authentic selves, and really putting ourselves first for once in how many ever years, thousands of years. Putting ourselves first and doing what's true to us in our heart and just sticking with it. And action. I mean, like you said before, nothing really happens unless you put in the action. And don't be afraid to put in the work, because know that if you're putting in the work and you're aligned to your true self, that the universe is going to give you what you want, and to trust.
More of you. Yeah. If you're yourself, we're co-creating this. So whatever you're acting is what you're going to get. So if you're acting fake.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get more fake stuff and feel more fake. I mean, we really are like little gods walking around. So we have this ultimate power. And yeah, the more that you do this kind of work, the more that you see it, the more that you believe it in, and the stronger you become.
I think my 2023 takeaway from you is ultimate power.
Ultimate power. Yeah. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the power. So well, what's your takeaway? What's your how do you want to leave the listeners of this podcast?
Well, collectively, right? So I do a lot of collective, I do a lot of psychic reading on people. So I have a beautiful kind of view into what humanity is going through, because I see it happening and changing to a lot of people. And so 2023, for what I've been picking up on, it's a really, really, again, back to that crown chakra, the download energy. We are so open right now. We are very open channels. I see so many people who are becoming sensitive. I know a lot of people don't like the word psychic or don't really know what it means. Everybody's psychic. And so whatever your version of psychic is, whether it's empathic, you feel a lot, you think, and you have clear thoughts, or if it's, hearing things or synchronicities, however you're picking up on non-physical information, it's like popping this year. Everybody is really, really open to this. And so this can be a great thing if you're grounded. If you're not grounded and you are open but not acting on these things, you are going to become like a trash can receptacle for like so much stuff, and it's going to be a freaking confusing hard year. So for my takeaway for people, they're so much more open and bringing so much stuff into their field that if you're not living and acting on the things you're thinking and processing and sensing, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be a confusing buildup of a year. So it's like you really do need, this is an action year. If you're staying in that flow and trusting what's coming in, you're gonna be guided so effortlessly. But if you dam up that flow, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be an intense. Yeah. So it's it's
a great year. Just act.
Powerful.
You
year.
Cannot fail if you act.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's gonna create a lot of chaos. We've been stuck in a paradigm that isn't completely authentic. And so with choosing you, a lot's going to change, and it will be a little bit of chaos, but out of that is where everything's birthed out of the chaos, right?
That's right.
It's like trust in a little bit of change to bring in what you've been desperately like heartfelt seeking.
Yes.
Boom.
Ultimate power for you 2023. How can people reach you?
Oh goodness. Find any of my YouTubes, my cell phone number's on it. I'm like so open to anybody who wants. Roottocrown.vip is our membership site. Jenessee.com. I have like 1,000 things out there. My web is very big, and maybe it's working behind the scenes. I don't know.
Oh yeah, of course it is. All right, guys.
Little flies.
Well, you can always reach out to me, and I can help connect you with Jenessee.
Figure out how to spell Jenessee, and you'll find me.
Exactly. But yeah, here's to an awesome 2023 with lots of action, lots of love, lots of authenticity.
Light, love, and ultimate power.
Ultimate power, guys.
Until next time.
See ya. Thanks for listening.